slowing down for him.
All right, time for an NBA free agency update. Sources tell ESPN that the Clippers are trying to acquire Danilo Gallinari through a 3-team sign and trade deal, which would include sending Jamal Crawford to Atlanta and draft compensation to the Nuggets. Now, Gallinari became expendable in Denver when Paul Millsap agreed to a free agent deal with the Nuggets. And Crawford offered his thoughts on Twitter, a little subtweet here at @JCrossover. Sometimes all you can do is sit back and laugh. Of course, Crawford spent part of his NBA career in Atlanta with the Hawks. Gordon Hayward, he wrapped up his free agent recruiting tour with a 3.5-hour meeting with the Jazz yesterday. That's according to our Adrian Wojnarowski. Now, newly acquired Ricky Rubio actually flew in from Spain to attend the meeting. Hayward is now mulling over contract offers from Miami, Boston, and Utah, the latter of which can, of course, offer him one additional year. Now, Hayward has spent his entire career with the Jazz, and his name already sits near the top of the franchise record book in many categories, such as points, three-pointers, and free throws. And besides familiarity, the one decided advantage Utah has over Hayward's other suitors, total money. The Jazz can give him more than $172 million thanks to that extra year that would be a 5-year contract.
Michael, elsewhere, Kevin Durant agreed to a new contract with the Warriors, a 2-year deal worth approximately $53 million. The 2017 NBA Finals MVP will be leaving millions of dollars on the table and, as a result, giving the Warriors every resource possible to recruit and retain talent. And just to put KD's pay cut in perspective, among the players who agreed to new deals this offseason, Steph Curry, Kyle Lowry, Blake Griffin, and Paul Millsap will all have higher salaries than Durant next season. In fact, Durant will be making only $2 million more than J.J. Redick. Coming up, ESPN's Chris Haynes broke the story on Durant's deal. He's got the scoop on why Durant chose to take less money and what is next now on the priority list.
Wherever that ends up, that team will be getting a player coming off a career year. 21.9 points per game, marked the most by a Jazz player since the mailman, Karl Malone. Although Gordon was used on a career-high 28% of his plays right there, his usage rate, he was efficient, posting the most efficient season yet, 22.2 PER. And let's take a closer look, not just a highlight, a next-level highlight at Hayward's season and how efficient he was. The value on the floor, posting a plus 7.1 net efficiency, which would have ranked third in the NBA behind the Warriors and Spurs with Hayward on the floor for those Jazz. Utah's net efficiency dropped to plus 0.4, which would have ranked 11th in the NBA.
Gobert with the pick for Hayward. And hits.
He was a scoring machine on pick and rolls, averaging 5.6 points per game on those pick and rolls, almost a full point more than LeBron averaged this past season. Well done. How about the winning percentage and the impact?
Wide open Gobert, skip it out to Hayward. Look at this ball moving. Beautiful George Hill, bang. Free ball.
Great
shot.
basketball.
And when Hayward, Rudy Gobert, and George Hill all played, the Jazz posting a record of 28-12. Winning percentage of 700, also recorded a plus 6 points per game differential. When he's on the floor, good things happen for the Jazz. Jay, Lindsay?
I can't thank you much. We welcome in Chris Haynes and Antonio Davis now. Chris, I want to start with you. What can you tell us about where we stand in the Gordon Hayward sweepstakes?
Well, look, for the Utah in particular, they did everything they could to put themselves in position to bring back his services. It was well known behind the scenes that Gordon Hayward was pushing for the Jazz to acquire Ricky Rubio, a pass-first point guard. And then they also re-signed one of his good friends, Joe Ingles. So they're in position to say, hey, we've done everything. We've listened to your opinion. We've taken your critique. Now let's return the favor. Now, if Gordon Hayward were to bolt, and I'm told Boston feels really good about their chances of getting him, that leaves Utah with a pass-first point guard who really can't, create his own offense alongside other guys who really can't create their own offense.
Pass it to who?
So they put it all in. I give them props. They put it all in and say, hey, please come back. Yeah. It's going to be a major fallout if he doesn't.
He can't say no to that, can he?
Yes, he can.
Is he?
Well, we talk about Miami over there. Come on, man.
You got the beaches. You got
the banners in Boston, the tradition. Man,
You're shaking your head. Why?
Well, I mean, there's just other factors. You know, I found myself in a similar situation in 2001, going back to Chicago, where Tim Floyd was, who originally recruited me out of college to UTEP. And then I had Orlando, where I had my summer home, which I definitely wanted to go back there. And then Toronto was able to offer me more money to go back to Toronto. So there's just other factors. It's not always about winning and losing. Sometimes your wife has a different value set in this decision-making process. So there's so many other factors that you have to factor in besides the business aspect. And I chose to go back to Toronto, but I think if I had it to do all over again, I think I would have.
You chose the money.
Yeah, because it's not like today. There's a huge difference between 30 and 60 and 130 and 160. I mean, $100 million is $100 million. So we would just take that one off the plate once you get to that type of money. But then you have to start factoring in all the other things.
How much would playing for your legendary coach, Don Haskins, right, have weighed in? Because we know that Hayward would have an opportunity to play with Stevens, his college coach at Butler.
It's huge. I mean, it factors into, you know, just your mindset and that comfortableness of knowing your coach and the way he's going to let you play and allow you to play. That friendship, I'm sure that they had. But there's a huge difference, like you said, between being in Miami and being in Boston. I think Miami has a little bit of allure because, you know, they have that big guy in the middle like he had in Utah. He had to Gobert. He had guys who, this up-and-coming young team is intriguing to me in the East, because now you have an opportunity to be trending up and one day find yourself in a position to get in the East.
And that's the thing. That's the attractiveness about the East, is that Cleveland Cavaliers are one injury away from a key guy from allowing anybody into that path to see. We all think the Warriors in the finals. I'm talking about Toronto, Washington. If Phil just opens up, if he returns, which Utah hopes, it's
facing Jimmy Butler.
I forgot about Minnesota. It's
all of them guys.
It's stacked over there.
It sounds like we're writing off Utah in this conversation. Well, you know, just because you look at the other opportunities.
I can't do that because just like AD took the money, the more money is in Utah. So you definitely have to weigh that. Yeah, it's definitely a factor.
Yes. But if Boston doesn't get him, people are going to be looking at Danny Ainge kind of strange, too.
That's true. But I'll tell you one thing Gordon Hayward's not doing. He ain't taking $10 million less.
Okay, Kevin Durant.
I'll tell you that. That's for sure.
You're still on that, man.
It's like sour on that, right?
That is ridiculous. $10 million. That's a team player.
That's a drop in a bucket when you get up there, man.
That's what I'm saying.
10,000, $10 million. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that's just. Come on, Haynes. You're better than that.
Some were different.
Chris Haynes and Antonio Davis back next hour on SportsCenter. Thank you, guys.
Antonio, I don't know what that means. So, I'm and I are not taking $10 million less. Our money man, Tom Fenwick.
Right now.
I want to be Antonio just one time in free agency.
Just once.
Can I do that once?
Right? Hey, let's just say he goes for the money, and that's where Utah can make the biggest offer. And then you look at some of the moves that Utah has made, and these guys discussed it, to entice him to stay. What does this look like, this Jazz team, if Hayward stays?
Well, he's front and center, and let's show what's still there behind him. He's got one of the best defensive players in the league, and then a legit power forward in Favors. So you go to what their challenge was. Their challenge was how to replace Hill, because Hill was going to leave. So they bring in Rubio as a positional replacement, aggressively trading for him. And what you get in Rubio, Chris mentioned it, you get a major upgrade in assist production. 9.1 per game. The leader in all the Jazz was George Hill's only 4.2. So he's going to get him the ball. Then they come and they bring back, well, Hood's already here, but Joe Ingles, they re-sign quickly. Give him a big number, 11.6 per year. Important to Hayward. Now you think about what else is there around Gordon Hayward. They can bring in off the bench another closer in Joe Johnson, right? Joe takes the pressure off.
That's a bargain, Joe Johnson, too.
He finishes. You know, and Dante Exum is going to come along as a young player. He was a baby when they drafted him. So it's still all about Hayward and selling him on being in the center of all this. And remember the glory that he achieved this year, his ability to hit game-winning shots. A step-back three against Dallas, big game winner. He's in the middle of this team. He's established himself as the finisher, as the clutch player. This is what Boston wants right there in Boston. How about a home win? I'm playing this for him. I'm reminding him of this moment where he hits this huge shot against Cleveland. The place goes absolutely crazy. And LeBron, get out of here. Just walk off the court. It's over. That kind of stuff is what he has established with this team. And you remind him of all that. And then you remind him of this. For Antonio, a little differential. You get about $44 million more to stay. The home is where the heart is. Stay right here in Utah.
You would get a Supermax contract when it comes to the touch screen here.
Right? And is there such a thing?
Here I'm establishing it, right? So the idea of the Western Conference just getting better and better each passing day.
Yeah.
This team made the playoffs a year ago, or I should say a season ago. What does this team look like with Gordon Hayward in the playoff scenario in the Western Conference?
Here's the problem. That's my ranking right now, based on what we know. And they're still fifth. Because I think the Thunder have jumped them with the acquisition of Paul George, and they're not getting past the Warriors. You still got to put the Spurs ahead of them. So they still sit right there at fifth. So if I'm negative recruiting against Gordon, it's like, look, you're not going to get there with what you got.
Yes.
Because everybody else in the arms race in the West. So I still think they're right there where they were. They finished fifth. They had 51 wins, and they won a playoff series. Next step is to take them further, but it's going to be hard in the West.
You mentioned negative recruiting. Maybe one of the pitches by the Celtics are, hey, you get to the East, you get a lot of young talent around you, you will be the man with IT, and you have a potential chance maybe getting into the Eastern Conference Finals. And maybe you pair up with this guy.
Yes.
And that is Jason Tatum. We saw him make his debut, the third pick overall by the Celtics in the draft. And there's the number one pick overall, Markelle Fultz. A lot of people thought he was going to be a Celtic. But the trade with the Sixers and then Tatum doing work inside. 6'8" frame out of Duke. And Danny Ainge is like, I like what I see. I like this is big picture. Maybe not 2018 World Championship banner. Maybe big picture down the road with these young guys surrounding Isaiah Thomas. Tatum doing work, and then Fultz as well. He was always in control here. First time we've seen him since February on the floor, and the outside shot, Kevin Durant taking notice.
Heck of a start for this kid. This is what you want. Inside, outside, attack the basket, feathery jumper. Durant likes it. I like it.
And then the defense, again, the point guard, 6'4", 195 pounds, and Joel liking what he sees. He's processing, and we're all trusting it. Shirley Temples for everyone. Fultz had 3 blocks, wingspan 7 feet. And then Tatum one-on-one. Beautiful shot. Silky smooth, less than 6 seconds to go.
Clutch takeover play. This is what you want to see out of your rookie.
Tatum on that final shot.
I just try to get back, to my sweet spot, mid-range, and, say a prayer and win in.
Fultz with the chance to answer now. Down one, the Sixers coaches said attack the rim. He did. He beat his man. It's the help defense led by Jaylen Brown, who had a monster night. The Celtics hold on to win 89-88. Great performance. Tatum with 21, Fultz with 17. Front office types like Danny Ainge, when they're watching a game like this, and we're seeing a lot of youngsters, 18, 19, 20 years old on the floor, what are they looking for specifically in a game like this?
Flashes of brilliance. You want to see what you drafted, and you want to have hope for the future. You got to prove it to your coaches, and you got to prove it to your organization. Summer League matters. We say it really doesn't, but I'm telling you, you sit there and sweat every possession. I've been there. We had it with LaMarcus Aldridge, with Greg Oden, with all our young rookies. I've had it multiple times where you're sitting in the stands in Las Vegas and your owner is watching every possession, your coach is watching every possession, and you need that guy to perform and show what he's going to be.
Yeah.
And if you don't see it, you panic.
That's amazing.
It's true.
Especially in July that you're evaluating that talent.
Totally
and, of course,
matters.
I can tell you for the fan bases in Philadelphia and Boston, they were all smiles last night.
Good
from
start.
what they saw from their guys. Tom Penn with us this morning. Lindsay?